The purpose of this video is to give you some instruction that you can use at home in order to really learn these purple, white, and yellow cards. So in the privacy of your own home, at your own pace, and as many times as you need to until you can get this down, you can go over it. You can take cards at home, and as you're watching this, you can put the cards down on the table as you're watching this particular video, or on the floor, on the ground, in your living room as this is playing on your DVD player. The first card, the purple card that we have, is before the world began, God had a great plan. There are many plans that God had, and obviously his great plan is he was going to send Jesus into the world to save man from their sins. He shared that plan with the first fathers. There are 5 first fathers that we want you to know. They are Adam, Noah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Of course, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were all related. At the end of the book of Genesis, you also have to account for Jacob's 12 sons, including Joseph. Now, there arose a Pharaoh after the time of Joseph that knew not Joseph, and therefore the Israelites became slaves in Egypt. At the same time, the promise that God had made to Abraham that he was going to give him a great land was starting to be fulfilled because the people in that land were becoming so evil that God was ready to cast them out of the land. Well, eventually God sends Moses to lead his people out of the land of Egypt. And it was God's plan at that point to have him lead them to the land, or into the land, but the children of Israel refused to enter the land because of the spies, the report of the spies. Between Moses and Joshua, it was a great transition of leadership. The people told Joshua, we will follow you, just like we have followed Moses all this time. You are our new leader. We trust you. You need to be strong and courageous. Well, after the time of the judges, Samuel was the last judge. They were not happy with Samuel's sons, because Samuel's sons did not follow God the way Samuel did. And so they asked for a king. You have a period of 120 years where the kingdoms were under a united kingdom. And the United Kingdom had 3 basic kings to it, Saul, David, and Solomon. Rehoboam took over the kingdom for a short period of time before it split. After it split, you had the northern kingdom of Israel, the southern kingdom of Judah. The northern kingdom of Israel was ruled by Jeroboam, and the southern kingdom of Judah was ruled by Rehoboam. After this, the northern kingdom was carried into captivity in 722. The southern kingdom started being carried into captivity in 606, and the temple was destroyed in 586. You have a group of people that we refer to as homesick heroes. The homesick heroes would include people like Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and Esther, along with Ezekiel. Well, there became a time after 70 years that Jeremiah prophesied about, that they were able to come back to the land. We call those people the home again heroes. They returned to the land. Ezra, Nehemiah, and Zerubbabel make up that group. It actually goes in the order of Zerubbabel, Ezra, and Nehemiah. The next card is Christ, is God's great plan. And so you have your New Testament time period where Christ is there delivering the message and fulfilling the promise that God made way back then. And then you have, I'm going to build my life on God's plan. So we agree that we're all going to build our life on God's plan. The next group of cards we have are the white cards. And I don't have these in order. You have the white card that has Zerubbabel, King Cyrus, Haggai, Zechariah, Ezra, and Nehemiah. This card would obviously go under this home again heroes, because Zerubbabel came home and Zerubbabel rebuilt the temple. You have a card that has the 12 apostles on there. It has Zechariah, Elizabeth, Joseph, Mary, Jesus. And let me go ahead and tell you, these cards, they have underlined Jesus' direct lineage. So all these cards will have Jesus' direct lineage underlined. And so this goes under the New Testament time period. Christ, I will build my life on him. Then you have kings of Judah, which obviously go under the king, like that. You have Daniel, Ezekiel, Esther, and some other lesser characters, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, King Nebuchadnezzar, King Belshazzar, King Cyrus, and King Artaxerxes. That all goes under the homesick hero category. You have your kings of Israel card that goes under the kings, obviously, and you have your United Kingdom card, which depicts Saul, David, and Solomon. You have a card that has the 15 judges on it, along with Ruth, Rahab, Achan, Caleb, and Joshua, which goes under your Joshua and Judges time period. You have Moses, Miriam, Nadab, and Abihu, Caleb, Joshua, the 12 spies, Korah, Balak, Balaam, and the donkey, which would go under the time of Moses. And then you have the card that has the first fathers on it, and that goes under the first fathers card. So far, so good. So far, so easy. We can handle that. Now we get to our books of the Bible. We have several cards here that depict the books of the Bible. The first one here has Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi on it. Well, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi, the last three books of the Old Testament, they go down here at the home again Nero time period. This card also has Ezra and Nehemiah on it, which will make it a little bit easier for you to know where to put it. In order to know where Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi go, there's a little saying. The saying is, desires exiles, hurry to Zion meekly. The hurrying to Zion meekly talks about the home again. You're hurrying, Haggai, to Zion, Zechariah, to meekly is Malachi. Hurry to Zion meekly. So that will help you remember that. Obadiah and Nahum, they are the times of the kings, but they actually prophesy to other nations. So I just sort of put them down here a little bit. So I realize they go in the time period of the king, but they really don't prophesy to Judah, they don't prophesy to Israel, nor do they prophesy to the United Kingdom. Ruth, Joshua, Judges, and 1 Samuel, that goes in the time of Joshua and Judges. And then you have 1 Samuel 1 through 7, that talks about Samuel's life and the end of his life there. Jonah is from Israel, but he actually prophesied to other nations. So we sort of put him down there a little bit. Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers, Deuteronomy, one that we all know, that is talking in the time period of Moses. Exodus, they leave the land. Genesis and Job is during the time of the first fathers. Job is not mentioned in the book of Genesis, but he has his own book that takes place in the time of the first fathers time period. Hosea and Amos prophesy to Israel. The saying that we have there is Israel's evil ends holy days at Jerusalem. The Israel's evil, they're not books in the Bible. It's really designed to help us know the prophets. Israel's evil, the two E's there are Elijah and Elisha, and holy days at Jerusalem. 1 Samuel 8 through the end of the book, talks about your first king. And that first king is Saul. So I put that over there by Saul so I know where that goes to. 2 Samuel talks about David. And David is so important to the nation that 2 Samuel talks about him. Also, 1 Chronicles talks about David. So David really has two books. And of course, he wrote the book of Psalms. And so I put him there to realize that he goes with David. 1 and 2 Kings. 1 and 2 Kings actually talk about the kings of Israel and the kings of Judah, along with King Solomon. So those two books go back and forth between the king in the north and the kings in the south. It might say during the so-and-so year of King Jehoshaphat of Judah, King so-and-so became king of Israel. And it goes back and forth, going back and forth between Israel and Judah. Ezekiel, Daniel, and Esther, that's going to go in your whole 6-hero time period. Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Jeremiah, and Lamentations. Two ways for you to remember this. We have the saying, which Judah is more holy. Babylon, however, zaps Jerusalem later. Or you can remember that Jeremiah is the weeping prophet. He wrote the book of Lamentations. And Jeremiah is the prophet that prophesied that Israel would be carried away into captivity for 70 years. Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Song of Solomon is pretty simple. That belongs to King Solomon during his reign. Joel, Isaiah, and Micah. Here we have the beginning part of this thing right here with the kings of Judah, and that is, Judah is more holy. Babylon, however, zaps Jerusalem later. Joel, Isaiah, and Micah both prophesied to Judah while Israel was still in existence. Isaiah was alive when Israel was taken captive. He was actually talked to Hezekiah a lot. Hezekiah was the king of the south when the northern kingdom was taken away. And then you have 2 Chronicles. 2 Chronicles talks about the kings of Judah. First and 2 Kings talks about both Israel and Judah. 2 Chronicles, because Judah is the most important nation. It is the most important nation because that's God's plan to deliver the third of the promises that he made way back here to Abraham, that through his seed all nations of the world will be blessed. That comes through Jesus. And all of this is root of the story, how God delivered on that promise. God delivered on the promise that he was going to bring Jesus into the world to save us from our sins. And so this gives you an idea where all these different white cards, yellow cards, all the books of the Bible fit in historically to the big picture of the Old Testament. I hope this would help to you. Take your card, do it over and over and over again, so you can do this in your sleep. Thank you.